Tonight's WDAY, WDAZ, KBMY, and KMCY Sports Special, Fargo to Frisco, is brought to you by Muscatel Subaru, Egg Country, Gate City Bank, Cedex, Dawson Insurance, Bolger Funeral Home, and Minnesota Soybean Council.
A season that started with a stumble has led to the doorstep of history. Join us for the next half hour as we document a remarkable Bison football season. This is Fargo to Frisco. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the unofficial second home for NDSU football, Frisco, Texas. You're looking live inside Dr. Pepper Arena, which will be filled in about an hour's time with Bison fans who have made the trip down for a fifth straight year, as North Dakota State will attempt to make history tomorrow and win a fifth consecutive national championship. I'm WDAY 6 Sports Director Don Izzo. Glad you could join us tonight for Fargo to Frisco. We're with you for the next half hour, and we'll recap this unbelievable Bison season that remarkably started with a loss. We'll be joined by several live guests to add their perspective and why NDSU landed back in the Lone Star State for a fifth consecutive season. Also coming up on tonight's show, we'll go into the history machine and check out the last time Jacksonville State and NDSU played way back in 1989, long before high definition. You'll meet one of NDSU's electric true freshmen, who without, the Bison would not be playing tomorrow. And a true success story from unwanted out of high school to a two-time All-American. That's all coming up over the next half hour. Well, everything blew up here in Frisco around 3 o'clock this afternoon when Chris Kleiman made the announcement that starting quarterback Carson Wentz, out of the lineup since October the 17th, would start tomorrow against Jacksonville State in the national championship game. Now, the Bismarck native has been sidelined for nearly 3 months with that broken wrist. Wentz, though, has been practicing full go for the last 2 weeks, but he did not get cleared by the doctors until Monday.
It's been a long, frustrating process, to say the least. Lots of doctor's appointments, lots of things I didn't want to hear for a long time. About 2 weeks ago, I really started progressing quite a bit, practicing, almost full go, and just kind of getting my feet wet again with practice. Threw some Scout 7 on, did some things, and just kind of progressed my way. And this week has just been a whirlwind. Finally realizing I'm going to get a chance to start one more time.
Now, the biggest question mark that myself and every other media member, or every other fan in Fargo and North Dakota, for that matter, are asking: when was Carson Wentz going to play, and could he play in the national championship game? We now have that answer, but the questions over the last 3 months leading up to today, they never went away.
I'm trying not to dwell on it. It's tough, and it's kind of been a long week now for me personally, but, it kind of is what it is, and I've always been one to think that the good Lord has a plan, so I'm just sticking with it and taking it one day at a time.
I don't think the likelihood of him coming. I don't think there's a real likelihood of him coming back. It's a different injury because it's a wrist on your throwing hand. He's probably a case study himself, because I don't know if this injury to a wrist has happened to a quarterback. I don't know how it's going to affect him throwing the ball.
Kleiman said that 5 weeks after Wentz was hurt. The original diagnosis was 6 to 8 weeks for the bone to heal. Saturday would mark 13 weeks since Wentz got hurt. But he has resumed practicing, as Kleiman told the media during the week of the UNI quarterfinal game. Practice has been closed to any outsiders as the waiting game continues. All the while, Easton Stick has gone out and led NDSU to 8 straight wins. Wentz has been right with him on the sidelines, coaching the redshirt freshman the entire time. Stick, to his credit, has maintained his only job was to make sure Wentz could suit up one more time.
One of the personal goals I've had is to do everything I can to, if he had an opportunity to play, that he would, get that opportunity to go on the field and play one more time. So, but, we're just trying to win the next one, and really that's what it comes down to as a team. He's been progressing, and, if he's able to play, you know, I hope he plays, and you know, if he's able to help us, I hope he helps us.
The injury certainly hasn't hurt Wentz's potential at the next level. He's already received an invite to the Senior Bowl at the end of the month and has draft gurus drooling.
He's the kind of guy you think maybe late first, early second round. He had the broken wrist. He's been out since early October. When I watched him then, I highlighted him on ESPN.com because I loved his talent, loved the way he moves around. I mean, 6'5", 235. He's got an NFL arm and great mobility, and he's smart. So I think Carson Wentz is a quarterback out of North Dakota State. Obviously, we'll see if he's able to play in a 1AA playoffs. Maybe, maybe not. But he is at least, guys, back practicing.
I'm pleased to be joined by my colleague from the Forum of Fargo, Moorhead, Jeff Kolpak, and also the Bison Media blog. He's covered NDSU athletics for 20-plus years. Today was a day, I don't know if anybody saw it coming, Jeffrey, that Carson Wentz named starting quarterback. Your immediate thoughts on that?
It was kind of a bombshell, wasn't it? I mean, they've gone this long, Dom, with keeping the secret, so to speak. Thought, why not wait another day? But, yeah, he let us know. And I really think the most amazing thing, if you think about it, is the whole team kept it quiet. Yeah. For 2 weeks, and this day of social media, that's amazing.
It is amazing. What do you expect out of him tomorrow? He obviously has not played since October the 17th, hasn't taken a hit in nearly 3 months.
Well, we said if he's going to play, he'll have to play. He'll have to have 2 weeks of good practice behind him.
He says he had.
And which he had, and so he's been full speed for 2 weeks. I expect the full playbook. There's no doubt. I also think Easton Stick might see a few plays, too.
I'm with you there. We were both in Missoula on August the 28th when the Bison defense allowed 550 yards. How in the world did they get from that spot to where they are playing tomorrow?
Well, it's got to start up front, right? Now, let's take an example. Braden Brocious was a defensive end. Nothing heard from him really in the beginning of the year. And he was called out by the coaches. We called him out, actually. Like, where's Braden Brocious? What's going on? Boy, did he turn it on. He's been absolutely fantastic. He looks like Cole Jurek now. He's playing like Cole Jurek. And I think he's been a big factor, as well as the rest of the defensive line.
How remarkable is it that they're here playing for a 5th consecutive championship?
Well, I mean, they play power football, and nobody else really does it like they do. And it's a style, I think, that suits them well. It's a style not many teams play. And it's really hard to play when they're playing it well.
Jeff will rejoin us later in the show for the Ever Asked Pick'em segments. He's coming up later in the show. When we come back on Fargo to Frisco, a closer look at 2 of the biggest reasons why NDSU will play for a 5th consecutive championship. One of them is a true freshman. That's next on Fargo to Frisco. Back here on Fargo to Frisco, one of the main reasons why NDSU will play for a 5th consecutive championship tomorrow is thanks to a player that wasn't even on campus until August. Bruce Anderson has electrified the fan base with his game-changing ability and his kick returns in the FCS playoffs, and in the process, has NDSU a win away from making history. How many 18-year-olds get their name chanted by 19,000 fans? Bruce Anderson has to be on a short list. His arrival from Florida caught Bison fans like lightning. He impressed enough during fall camp that his red shirt was pulled before the season opener.
I think it clicked probably against Weber State. That's when it clicked, and I was like, wow, I'm playing college football with all these fans, and it was just amazing.
Amazing is the best way to describe Anderson's play, but it almost never happened. NDSU assistant Atif Austin, a Florida native, was recruiting the Tampa area when Anderson caught his eye.
And I just saw him practice, and he worked so hard, you know, and that kind of intrigued me to recruit this young man. I was like, man, who is this kid that's running all over the place?
Well, I asked him where Fargo was because I never really knew about North Dakota State as a university. But I did my research after he told me about it. He let me watch the videos, and I was very impressed when I watched all the highlights of the past season. So I just had some questions about, like, what should I expect when I come up on my visit? How are the people like?
I tell those guys, you know, what it was like for myself when I had to make the transition to the Midwest. And certainly I always talk about how nice the people are up here, and you know, how it's an open and warm feeling to come in and meet people that when you come in, they want to know about you. They want to talk to you. They want to, you know, pick your brain of who you are.
There's no doubt Bison fans know who Anderson is and where he's heading.
He got an extremely bright future ahead of him. I think Bruce is probably our fastest back in the backfield right now, and he's able to take it the distance at any moment.
When the coaches told me I could play early, I was excited, but I had to know I had to grow up fast and had a lot to bring to the table.
Anderson has already set a school record for multiple kickoff returns for touchdowns. That happened in the Montana and the Northern Iowa games. They were huge game changers. He's one of 4 true freshmen to be playing this season, joining Robbie Grimsley in the secondary, Dimitri Williams as well playing here for, and Cam Peterson, the kicker, playing for the Bison in 2015. From one of the youngest members of this team to one of the oldest. Tomorrow, Ben LeCompte will put on the Bison jersey and punt and kick off one last time. Some of the loudest cheers over the last 4 years have been reserved for him, which speaks to how good he's been as a punter and also to the guy underneath the helmet. It's been a regular occurrence inside the Fargo Dome over the last 4 years. A booming Ben LeCompte punt, followed by a roar of the Bison crowd. LeCompte has become a fan favorite, so much so, the faithful even made their own sign.
Yeah, I saw it. Initial reaction was the beard was a little off, but no, I'm kidding. But no, it's cool to see the fan support around here.
It's been great to have Ben for 4 years, and he's always been so consistent. He's just like Superman doing everything out there. But no, he's been awesome in this program.
LeCompte has been easy to cheer for. His stats speak for themselves. He's been an all-conference player all 3 years he's kicked, reaching All-American status last year. But it's his personality and work ethic that have left a mark.
I enjoy our time and that we spend together on day of games because we eat pregame and stuff together. Just what a great person he is, and he has a future.
Normally, the head coach and punter are only seen together when something goes wrong. That's not the case at NDSU, where Kleiman and the special teamers share a special bond.
Saturday morning breakfasts, Friday night dinners with Coach Kleiman. He's laid back. He's fun to talk to. He's not too tense before the game. You can really talk to him about anything, and he's there for you off the field as well. Just like a father figure more than a coach.
We are so fortunate that we have him, and he'll be as hard of a senior to replace as anybody we have because of being able to be sustained and consistent for 4 years.
One thing that always stick out to me is last year Montana, I hit a punt at like the 2-yard line, and man, he was sprinting to center field, greet me off the field, big hug. It's just he's a player's coach, and the emotion that he puts into the game, it makes it so much easier for us to play.
LeCompte has saved his best for the end of his career. It was on display in the FCS quarterfinals against Northern Iowa when he punted 6 times, 5 of them inside the 20. One of the punts was inside the 5, setting up a safety that sealed the win.
Anytime I can help my defense out and put them in a good position to possibly score points as a safety, it's unbelievable. To credit to everybody around here, the importance we stress on special teams every day, the importance that we've stressed on special teams my whole career here. It's a game changer. We know that, and you saw it today.
LeCompte was named to 3 different All-American teams over the last month. He's being scouted by several NFL teams, not just for his punting ability, but also for his ability to kick off. From one senior to another, a guy that wasn't even recruited out of high school by NDSU. Instead, he's become a 2-time All-American, and he may get drafted come April. I'm pleased to be joined by Janet Haig. That's Joe Haig's mom, who's been a 4-year starter the last 2 years at left tackle. Take me back to high school and the options for Joe and college ball. Were there any?
You know, there were a few. There were like Division II and Division III schools where Bemidji State, St. Cloud State were big ones that were kind of recruiting him. Otherwise, he had a possible walk-on offer at UND, went there for his only official visit, and he knew all along he wanted to play at NDSU.
How remarkable is this, though, going from walk-on and basically not wanted to now he's a 2-time All-American?
I know. It's pretty surreal. It's really surreal. It's been an incredible experience. More than we ever could have hoped for or imagined for a little skinny kid from Brainerd.
Yeah, describe it. What was his height and weight in high school, or his junior year of high school?
You know, his junior year, he was about 217, I believe. I remember 217, yeah.
And what is he at now?
He is at, I think, 305. He lost a few pounds.
Lost a few. Now, I want to ask you the news of the day, that Carson Wentz is going to play. How did that strike you guys?
You know what? I'm so excited. I was really hoping he'd be able to come back, that the team would be able to make it this far and see him again. It's been hard watching him on the sidelines. He's such a phenomenal guy, great player, and I'm excited to see him tomorrow.
Now, Janet originally was going to be a live shot with us before the Richmond semifinal game of the Fargo Dome 3 weeks ago. Tell us what happened, why you couldn't make it for the live shot.
about a half hour before we were ready to leave, just kind of killing some time, I decided to throw something in our garbage outside, walked through the garage with some sandals on, made it out there fine, but coming back I slipped and bounced my head on the cement.
And you cut your head open. You had to go to the hospital.
I did.
You got stitches, but no anesthesia,
I got 5 staples.
Staples?
Staples, yes.
But you said no, you couldn't miss the game.
It would have been 20-minute wait. I would have been late, but I got there a half hour before kickoff. So
I know your son's tough. You're tougher than him after that story.
Absolutely.
What do you expect tomorrow? Last time sitting in the game as a Bison mom.
You know, I'm looking forward to an exciting game. I think it's going to be a really close, exciting game. Try and take it all in. Hard to believe it's our final game.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want it to end, but I hope we can end on a winning note. It's fun to be here.
I appreciate you giving us a few minutes. Be safe getting to the game tomorrow. I don't want any more accidents,
okay? They have an extra helmet for me. We'll see.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
That's Janet Haig, Joe Haig's mom. We appreciate her joining us. When Fargo to Frisco returns, we go into the Wayback Machine to find out the last time the Bison and Jacksonville State clashed on the gridiron. That's next when Fargo to Frisco returns, live from Texas. Welcome back here on Fargo to Frisco. They're getting the crowd pumped up. NDSU's opponent tomorrow, Jacksonville State, will bring up plenty of bad memories for Bison fans. The Gamecocks dealt the Bison a rare loss during a period of dominance. NDSU won titles in 1986, 1988, and 1990. But it's a loss to Jacksonville State that still stings for both the fans and the guys that played on the team.
We expected to win. Of course, we didn't win them all, but those 2 years we did. And this team in '89, we had just lost a really good senior class, but you know, we had a pretty good team still.
On a gray December day in Jacksonville, Alabama, NDSU met its match against a quick and talented Gamecock team.
Quarterback, and he wants the alley again, and he's got it. At the 20, Gullidge, he could go. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Gamecocks.
JSU dominated through 3 quarters to build a 21-3 lead on the Bison. NDSU's cause wasn't helped by turning the ball over 3 times. They also had to deal with an aggressive Jacksonville State team that had the referee's attention even before the game started.
Because you put Simdorn in a cage, and I'll guarantee you who's going to come out.
When the officials met with the coaches, he told the refs to make sure they bring a box of flags with, because they're going to need them. And tell you what, they needed them. That team was nonstop. They'll hit you when you're, you know, and they hit you when their whistle was going and after the whistle. But they were a lot of trash talk.
NDSU rallied in the 4th quarter. Quarterback Chris Simdorn, playing on a broken foot, ran in a 15-yard touchdown, followed by a Satter 2-point run that made it a 21-11 game. The Bison got the ball back and shoot up a 14-play drive that resulted in a Simdorn to Troy Stockstead touchdown that made it 21-17 with 58 seconds to go. NDSU had one last chance, but couldn't recover an onside kick, giving JSU the win and denying a potential three-peat for the Bison.
Jacksonville State, here we are again, and you know, I look back at my career, and we won most of our games. We lost, I think, 7 games, and there's only 1 or 2 that I wanted a do-over, and this was one of them.
NDSU also played Jacksonville State in the 1977 Grantland Rice Bowl, also won by the Gamecocks 31-7. I'm joined by Bison Hall of Famer Phil Hansen, who you saw in that last highlight on the sideline in that game against Jacksonville State. Why in the world were you not playing?
Well, you know, the game started off pretty good, but I got chop block in the first half, and I spent a lot of time in the locker room and then on the sidelines there, so I didn't see the end of the game. I didn't see much of it.
What do you remember about that? Are there any similarities from that team to the team that the Bison are going to see tomorrow?
Oh, goodness. That is a tough question. You know, I just remember in Bison history, you know, we won it all in '88, and that was our chance to win it in '89. Right. We lost, and we came back in 1990 and won it again. So, but that particular game, I don't remember the players. I don't remember much about the field. I don't remember much of anything, unfortunately.
This run that NDSU's on, you've been part of as a broadcaster. How remarkable is this, what they have a chance to do tomorrow that nobody's ever done?
It makes us proud to be former Bison to see what they're doing now. But, yeah, it's something I think in a decade or 20 years we're going to look back on this and we're not going to realize how good we had it right now. So Bison fans, enjoy it.
How surprised were you to hear that Carson Wentz is going to play tomorrow?
You know, I think when you break it down, if he gives you the best chance to win and he's healthy, go with it. And it didn't really surprise me. If he was healthy enough, I think he gives the Bison the best chance to win if they have to pass.
You got a prediction for tomorrow? You want to give it away? Have you ever picked against the Bison?
No, and I never will. My record at the end of the season will be the same as the Bison's. I'll pick them by 10.
I appreciate you doing this. Enjoy the game tomorrow.
Thanks, Tom.
Phil Hansen, Bison Hall of Famer, Buffalo Bills Wall of Famer. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. Our prediction segment is coming up. Jeff Kolpak, Eric Peterson will join me. We'll break down the game and offer our final thoughts when we come back live to Texas. Back here on Fargo to Frisco as we wrap things up with my compatriots in the Bison Media Blog, Jeff Kolpak and Big E Eric Peterson in a suit and tie, folks. Only for live TV would Big E do that. Let's get into this game, guys. NDSU, Jacksonville State. We've been talking about it for 3 weeks. Now we know Carson Wentz will play. How much does that change anything, if at all?
I still think NDSU, Tom's got to go with the power running game. I mean, that's what happened after the South Dakota loss. I thought they dedicated themselves to a little more physical play. They need time of possession. I don't think that can change.
JSU has a dominant defensive line. I know you're doing a couple stories on that. How tough is that going to be for the Bison offense to get anything going tomorrow?
Well, that's going to be the key. Can NDSU handle some of that size and athleticism up front? You have 3 players who started their careers on SEC teams, 2 at Auburn and 1 at Tennessee. If NDSU can get their physicality and get into those guys, I think they can be successful. But if they let those guys dart and penetrate like they've done all year, it could cause a lot of issues.
You got a prediction for me?
28-24 NDSU. I just think NDSU's got the experience, and I think they'll just have a little more oomph at the end, and they'll pull this one out.
What do you think tomorrow?
Well, a lot of this game, a lot of people are comparing it to the Illinois State game of last year.
Yeah.
So I'm picking the same score, 29-27. You know, this game comes down to defense. Defense wins titles. Somebody many moons ago, dreamed that up, and it's really been true for NDSU in the last 4 years. They're playing the best defense of anybody.
They've been dominant here in this run. I expect a great game tomorrow. Thanks to Jeff and Big E for joining us, to Phil Hansen and Janet Haig, and thank you for watching Fargo to Frisco, live from Texas.